Hey everyone, Reaper here again. I know I haven't made a video in close to a few weeks. You know, things sometimes get a little busy. But I am here now with a brand new comic book haul. Got a bunch of books to show, and included in this haul are a bunch of CGC submissions that I made a couple of months ago, and I got the books back maybe about a month and a half ago. So I figure I would start, since I've been submitting more to CGC as of late, I figure I would include these submissions in future comic book hauls. Now I know some people feel that I'm a CGC shill and all that stuff. Look, I think I'm more of a shill for investing in my collection. Let's just put it that way. And I advise you, in whatever way you feel you want to do, I feel you should do the same. Not necessarily with CGC, but just invest in your collection. And there are many ways to do that. Everybody's different. I have my way, you have your way, but I truly feel, and I've said this in other videos in bits and pieces and perhaps even in full amounts, that for me, I think I've had the best experience submitting my raw books and getting a grade, keeping the book in that sort of shape, in my case, the CGC case, has proven to be very lucrative for me, especially when it comes to upgrades. And as you know, I've been upgrading like crazy for those that follow my Instagram page, and even the videos that come out every now and then. So long story short, too late, I recommend you invest in your collection. Again, people do that in many different ways. All right. So even though I'm doing a comic book haul, let me just, before I start it, I know I want to get to the books and all that stuff. Before I get to the books, this is a comic book haul, as I've said many times, and as you know by clicking on this video. I'm also working on the next comic book haul. I have a couple of books. Those of you that may have seen my Instagram page, you'll notice that some of those newer posts are not in this video. I'm saving them for the next haul, all right? So just in case you're a follower of mine on Instagram and you've noticed that, hey, you didn't show that book, it'll be next time around, okay? Because I think that this comic book haul is already kind of bloated, all right? So let's get started with the CGC submissions. Now, what that means is that these books I'm about to show you, these 3 books, I originally had raw for an X amount of time. The first one I've had raw for about 10 years, okay? For about 10 years I've had this book raw. And now I finally decided to get it graded. And the reason why I decided to have it graded, because I'm thinking about upgrading it down the line. Now I know, and I've said this before, some of you that probably own a shop or are in the business of selling comics and all that stuff, maybe sometimes these slab books don't sell as much because people look at them and they're thinking, oh, has it already been pressed? Has it already been cleaned? The fact of the matter is, sometimes a 5.0 is a 5.0, but sometimes people think that they could turn it into a 6 or a 7.5 or whatever. And maybe they can, or maybe they could, whatever. But long story short, too late, I've thought about having this next book upgraded, and I probably will upgrade it down the line to an 8.5. So with that being said, what did I get on this book? Well, let's find out what the book is, and let's see what I got on it. Here we have XMen number 94. I got a 7.5. It is an off-white pages. All right, not a bad grade. And this was one of the first books I got when I first came back to collecting. Now, I've been on YouTube for 10 years. You may not see this video until early July. Or I don't know, I might upload it today. It's the last day of June 2024. But I've really been on YouTube for about 10 years now. I think I started YouTube the end of June 2014. Now, those earlier videos are no longer available, but I was making a few videos. I made a few videos at the end of June, and I made a few videos in that July, and it wasn't until August I started making the comic book hauls, and that's where we're at today with all the comic book hauls up to this point, 10 years. But this was one of the first books I bought when I came back to collecting. And yeah, it was a present from my wife to me, obviously. But I am thinking about upgrading it. Like I said a few moments ago, I'm thinking about getting an 8.5. I think a 9.0 might be a little out of my price range or what I'm willing to spend. But I'm going to be doing a video on patience in comic book collecting. I'm going to see if I could film it today while I have the time, you know. So we might talk more about that later. All right, moving along. This is another book I bought about a year ago. I've had so many copies of this over the last few years. So many copies. And some were big upgrades from one point to another. Nice big upgrade. And this one is a smaller upgrade. But to me, it's much better. So without further ado, here it is. Vault of Horror number 13, one of my favorite covers, one of my favorite issues of that series. I submitted this. I got a 6.0 copy. I originally, a year ago, upgraded to a 5.5 copy, but so it's not much of an upgrade, right? But I wasn't happy with that book. It had too many issues. I feel that this one, even though it's half a point higher, it looks a lot better than that 5.5 I had. So I'm happy with that. Here's another one, another Vault of Horror that I've had multiple copies of over the years. It's a real checkered history with this one. My first copy, the spine was completely severed and I got rid of that. Then I won a copy off of Heritage. It came back, staples completely rusted. As soon as I opened the cover, the cover detached. Didn't mention that in the Heritage notes. And then I got around to getting this book. I believe this is the third copy I've had of this book. So I had it graded, and it's a classic. Vault of Horror number 35. Got a 5.0 copy. Hey, I'll take that any day. Is this something that I'd like to upgrade one day? I don't know. I'm quite happy with a 5.0. That book, because of that cover, is expensive. It's gotten expensive over the last few years. And I'm going to be talking about pre-code books in another video. How even though the books have gone down in value over the last couple of years, I know since 2021 was an anomaly because of all that was going on, you know, COVID and all the things that came with COVID, 2020, 2021. Pre-code books still hold a lot of their value, whereas a lot of the superhero books have down. Here's a nice upgrade. This is a really nice copy. And I got this on eBay. And I very rarely go on eBay because I just don't trust. And especially it's a raw copy. Oh, wow. I still get raw copies, yes. Especially of books like this. And I'll show you. I'll talk about it in a moment. But this is a really nice high-grade copy. I think it's probably like an 8.5 or a 9.0. So it's high grade, but it's not like 9.6 high grade. But I had like a 6.5 of this. So I've been going back and upgrading this title. Here we are, XMen number 53. Super nice copy. Super nice copy. Like I said, I was pretty surprised to get that off of eBay because most of the time when I look on eBay, I've noticed that the sellers really can't grade. And I've said this before, not that I'm like this super Bob Overstreet type grader, because I'm not. But, you know, it's just like some people saying high grade, and you clearly see that there's, you know, bad spine, holes around the staples because it's been so worn out. You know, that's not high grade. And you do see that. It's not super often, but you see it more often than you should. Here's a book I bought from Mike. I bought number 24, and I showed that in the previous haul, I believe. And now here we have number 23. Conan the Barbarian, number 23. The first appearance of Red Sonja. I think I had a 6.0 copy of this raw, and wound up getting a nice 9.0. Yeah, I like Conan the Barbarian. Here's a book that I really like. I have so many copies of this because it's so hard to get a decent copy of it because of the cover, the black on the cover. So it's hard to find a good copy of this. But then I found this, and it's a nice 6.5 copy. But here we have House of Mystery, number 93. Great, great tone cover. Robot cover. This is really cool. And I think this is a little underrated. Not that this book has to be super expensive, because it's not, and it shouldn't. But it's one of those old books, old covers from that series that doesn't necessarily get too much recognition. I know There are several in the House of Mystery line with Bernie Wrightson in the Bronze Age that get more recognition. The Neil Adams ones, which deserve it absolutely, but sometimes the others from the 60s and even the 50s, because that's a 59 book, are forgotten. Here's one that I really love. I may even include that in that pre-code video that I'm going to be doing pretty soon. Here we have Journey into Unknown Worlds number 28. Great zombie cover. Great Harry Anderson cover. Now, one of my favorite pre-code horror books that's in Atlas is the Mystery Tales 19, which is also a zombie cover and done by Harry Anderson. So, again, maybe a little underrated, not recognized as much, but great, great cover. Beautiful. I got a 4.0 copy. I'm happy with that. I'm not necessarily screaming for an upgrade, but, you know, not bad. Excuse me while I grab this next set, because like I said before, this haul's a little bloated. It's a little heavy, too, because of all these CGCs, CGC Slabs. Now, because of the shill that I'm at, that I really am. This is an upgrade, and lo and behold, I upgraded to a raw copy, which I'm going to be honest, I very rarely do, but I hated my 5.5 copy of this. So here I got what I believe to be a 6.0, maybe a 6.5 copy. Again, not a big upgrade, but it looks a lot better. Haunt of Fear number 20. My old copy was poorly centered. It was a 5.5 in the slab, but I was like, ugh, it sucks. Yeah, it was so horribly centered. I mean, I'm not a person that's like, oh, it's got to be centered perfectly and all that stuff. I'm not one of those people. But it looked really bad. It was like on a bad angle, and it was just horrible. And I said, I hate this book. I want to get rid of it. Hate this copy. And I found this one, and like I said, it's, I think, a little bit better, obviously because of the centering and all that stuff, but it's better overall, I think, just a little bit. Here's another copy. I've had 3 copies of this book. I had a 4.0, a 5.0, and right here I think this is a 6.0, maybe a 6.5. I don't know. But this is one I will have graded. This is Vault of Horror number 39. Such a beautiful, it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous book. I think it's a 6.0. It might be a 6.5, but who knows. Okay, I think the rest are just slabs. Yeah, they are just slabs. So bear with me, all right? Now, this year I've noticed I've been upgrading a lot of books that I originally purchased from 2014, whether they were in the slabs or raw. XMen 94 was one of them that we started this video with that. And I think in the last haul, House of Secrets 92, I bought that one in 2014, a slab, one of the earlier slabs that I bought. That was a 6.5. I upgraded to a 7.5. So I've been doing that, and I'm going to continue doing that throughout the week. Something, I don't know, I guess 2014, the 10-year anniversary, well, some books are now going to be upgraded. And here's one of them. I got Batman Adventures number 12. I got myself a nice 9.2. I had an 8.5 copy. This is actually the 3rd copy of this book I had. The first copy I bought in 2014, it was a raw copy. I never made it, I didn't put it in a video. Because if I recall correctly, I forget what number it was, Comical 7, 8, whatever it was. Who cares? It was the Christmas haul, and in the Christmas haul, if you go back and you saw, you would see the Batman Adventures 12 8.5. Before I even made that video, I had purchased the Batman Adventures 12. That was also, I guess this is newsstand. It was also a newsstand book, but it wasn't that nice and it was raw. So I sold it off and I wound up getting that 8.5, which I thought looked better, and I kind of wanted it in the slab. So I've had that for almost 10 years and sold it off and wound up getting this 9.2. Yeah, not bad. Here's a pre-code Atlas book that I got. I've had my eye on this for a while, and then I bought this off of Instagram. I thought this was really, really cool. Really cool cover. Again, one of those books that I don't think comes to people's mind whenever they think of pre-code Atlas, but really rich colors in the background. Here we have, what is this, Marvel Tales 121? Marvel Tales number 121, look at that. Really, not bad grade too, 5.5. Hey, for the price I paid, I thought it was a pretty good price. I was watching that book. It's probably still on eBay. I was watching that book on eBay, and the price was just like, oh, come on. No one's going to pay that. So when it and it was a 4.0 or 4.5. I think it was a 4.5. So when I saw a 5.5 pop up for a couple $100 less, I was like, boop, there we go. Here's a book I've wanted for a long time, and it popped up, and I said, you know what? Let's get it. House of Mystery #1. In the old slab, and a lot of people think, oh, that old slab, it's probably much higher. I doubt it. I really doubt it. I'm not going to have it correct. But House of Mystery #1. It's a book that you typically, it's a 4.5. It's a book you typically don't see. And honestly, I like it, but it's not, and it's a pre-code. It's a pre-code book. It's from 1952, so it's a couple years before the comics code and all that stuff. The end of EC Comics and those Atlas books that we all love, or at least I love. But it's not that great of a cover. Now, I was having this conversation with my comic book shop guy. Cool book, but it doesn't get that much attention. It's not super expensive because it's really not that great of a horror cover. You know, they could have done better. All right. Remember I was talking about the upgrades from 2014? Well, it continues. It continues a couple more times in this video. And we continue with that with the next book. Batman 232 9.0. Again, I think it was in comic book haul number, I think it was the Halloween haul from 2014. What was that, number 3? I think that was number 3. And then number 4 was the New York Comic Con 2014 video, if I remember. It's almost like remembering comic book numbers, issue numbers. But anyway, I think it was comic book haul number 3. I got Batman 232 first, Ra's al Ghul, and it was a 7.5. And I believe around that time I had my eye on a 8.0, but I think that deal fell through and I wound up getting a 7.5, which I was happy about. No big deal. And now I upgraded it to a nice 9.0. Very nice. So another book from 2014. Those first few hauls is upgraded. Here's one. I got 3 more, so please bear with me on this. I hope you're enjoying the videos so far. I hope you're enjoying the books. 3 more. 2 ECs and 1 Marvel. I'll save the Marvel for last because I know a lot of people, oh, no. More ECs? I don't like ECs. I don't buy ECs. Your loss. Here's one that's a classic. And I purchased this book a few months ago, from my comic book guy. And we thought it was a lower grade than this. When I saw this grade, I was shocked. But this was a book that, normally this series in EC I don't buy because I collect, the horror books. I get shock books occasionally. I'll get the crime books and all that stuff. I don't really do too much crime book collecting, all that stuff. But I don't buy any of these. And this is more the science fiction ones, although I should get into them. But this is a classic cover. And when you see it, you'll know exactly what I mean. Weird Science Fantasy, 29, the classic Frank Frazetta cover. And it's a 7.5. You just don't, we didn't think it was a 7.5. I didn't think it was a 7.5. But again, I'm not a CGC grader. But it looks great though. It does look great. I mean, it really does. It's a super awesome book. It's an off-white pager, but no big deal, right? Classic cover, atomic explosion panels, last pre-code issue. But this is an example of what I was saying earlier in the video. Let's say if I didn't want it, I was like, let me sell this. Oh, why'd I buy this and all that stuff? And if I tried selling it raw, and there would be like an endless debate on what the real grade is. I think it's a 7. Oh, I think it's a 6. And, and it turns out to be a 7.5. And that's why I have things graded, because one day when I'm going to be passing these comic books off to my son, as most of you know. But the ones that I say, well, I don't really want, I want to get rid of and reinvest in the hobby, or I want to upgrade, I'll take over that. But regardless of either scenario, I give them to my son, he wants to sell them, or whatever. I think it's best to have them in the slabs. I just do. It says this is the grade. No, it's not a 6.0. It's not a 7.0. It's a 7.5. End of story. If you want to disagree with what CGC says, that's your choice. It's your opinion. You could go off and find the book somewhere else then. All right. I'm sure you could find a Weird Science Fantasy 29 like that, or not. Sorry. Just I keep hearing these some of the stupid things that people say. Here is another book. Again, I had this is an upgrade. And I originally had a 3.0. I had it graded. I sold it. That's it. I thought my copy was a 2.5. Turned out to be a 3.0. Again, a perfect example. And it had other defects that made me unsure of the grade because I'm not an expert grader, or at least a trained grader in a CGC or CBCS sort of way. So that's why I thought it was a 2.5. It turned out to be a 3.0. Very nice. Added a few $100s more to the price that I sold. But again, that's a perfect example of a book. This is a perfect example of a book that I'm glad I had graded so that I could have the funds, or at least more funds, to put toward the upgrade. Here we have one of my favorite ECs, and the last EC for this video. Shock Suspense Stories number 6, the classic Bigot cover. I had bought my original copy from my local comic book shop years ago in 2017. And I had it graded this year because I started saying, hey, I'm going to start grading. I want to see if I could upgrade that book. And I did, to a nice 6.0 copy. Beautiful. I love this book. This is one of the classic books in the EC line, along with the Weird Science Fantasy. But it's also one of the classic books that I remember as a kid when I was collecting those EC reprints, those are large, oversized EC reprints that were double covered, double stories, and all that sort of stuff. Not the Gladstone, but they were big, magazine shape. But anyway, when you open it up, you would see all the advertisements of others like that. And I remember seeing that Shock cover. I was like, oh man, that looks interesting. And I could never find Shock reprints back then. Well, at least where I was looking. So when I finally got that book more than a few years ago, and able to upgrade to a nice 6.0 copy of that classic cover, it's wonderful. And the last book, and it was also a book I bought in 2014, and I believe it was in Comic Book Haul number 1. So this goes back. But I managed to upgrade it. I had it graded so that I could sell it. It came back a 4.5, which was great. I thought it was going to be a 4.5. And kind of like a slight upgrade, but still it's really good. XMen number 4, a 5.5 white pager. Now, you know, I'm not the type that says, oh, I have to have white pages here, white pages here. No, there are some things I say, well, I would like to have off-white to white. Like when I bought my XMen number 1 upgrade, I didn't want cream pages. I just didn't want it. I wanted off-white to white. Would have been nice to have white, but fine, off-white to white, or just off-white on some books. But cream, I try to stay away from that with some books, even though I have plenty of cream color books, fine. But this really stood out for me. So it's a nice white pager and another upgrade to a book that I got in 2014 that, quite frankly, when I first got that book, I was ecstatic because that was a book I've always wanted. At that point, it was a book that I wanted for over 20 years. And I was finally able to get it. And now, 10 years later, I upgraded it to a better grade. And who knows if I upgrade it again? Most likely probably won't be a white pager. But it won't be a cream one either. It'll probably be off-white or off-white to white, and it'll probably be a 6.5. But that's how you do it, right? Every little step, as I often say on the ladder of upgrading comic books, you know. Okay, everybody, I'm out of gas. Thanks for watching these last 23 minutes or whatever it was, however you watched. Like I said, I'm going to make a couple more videos, and I hope you tune in and, you know, leave some friendly comments below if you have saw any of these books that you like and you're looking to get yourself one day. How's your 2024 want list coming along? Mine's coming along pretty well. I'm hoping to get a couple more by the end of 2014. Don't think I'm going to be able to get them all, but I should be able to get at least 2 more. So yeah, with that and the ones I got already this year, I think that's a want list job well done. Take care, everybody.